tonight. All eyes on Virginia. How elections in the Commonwealth could be a sign of what's to come for the rest of the country. And
we're talking about criminals who want to make money illegally or who want to do harm.
America's fight to protect against cyber attacks. Plus,
I could just feel like the fog would just lift.
The controversial new medicine approved to treat Alzheimer's. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A state election with national implications. Welcome to Faith Nation, everyone. I'm Eric Phillips.
And I'm Jenna Browder. A former Virginia governor is once again the party's nominee for the job. Terry McAuliffe secured a spot on the gubernatorial race ballot, easily winning Tuesday's Democratic primary in the Commonwealth.
He'll face Republican nominee Glenn Youngkin in an election that could signal where voters stand after the bitter 2020 presidential race. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener has more in tonight's top story.
Most analysts agree Democrats have the advantage going into this race with the state's left-leaning trend, but they also say Republicans may benefit from the political climate, with the race considered to be a bellwether of things to come. Beating out four other candidates who argue the party needs new blood, former governor and longtime Democratic fixture Terry McAuliffe will take on Republican businessman Glenn Youngkin in the November general election.
I've said we've got to go big, we've got to be bold, and we need seasoned leadership to move us forward and to lift up all Virginians.
The 64-year-old, who was Virginia's governor from 2014 to 2018, capturing more than 60% of the vote. During the campaign, touting his record, which includes expanding voting rights for felons.
This was remnants of Jim Crow, and it needed to end.
Virginia is the only state in the nation with an open race for governor this year. Youngkin, the GOP's newly minted nominee, says he's confident he will beat McAuliffe to become the first Republican in 12 years to win a statewide race.
So many Virginians recognize that what Terry McAuliffe stands for, which is the left liberal progressive agenda, is so counter to where the vast majority of Virginians are today.
Youngkin, a businessman who has never held public office, is pro-life and pro-guns and believes he'll benefit from a political climate similar to the one that helped Republican Bob McDonnell win the governorship under Obama in 2009.
We see our economy and job market in a state of chaos. We see our schools in a state of chaos. We see our law enforcement community and parole board in a state of chaos.
The race is expected to be a tight one. Many analysts seeing it as a test for both parties ahead of next year's midterms, when Republicans try to capture control of Congress.
Before we look at the midterms, I think we should look not far from D.C. and Virginia, where you are probably going to see a very, very tight gubernatorial election in a swing state that has trended much more blue in recent years.
In addition to the traditional battles that will play out on the campaign trail, pundits also say this race is a culture war happening in Virginia and other places around the country, a test of where voters stand on social issues like critical race theory and gender policy. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Tara, thanks. Joining us now, senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon and chief political analyst David Brody. Thanks very much to both of you for joining us. Jennifer, first to you. There might not be much surprise about McAuliffe's securing his party's nomination, but according to Dave Wasserman of the Cook Political Report, he could have an enthusiasm problem. Do you agree with that assessment, and what would that mean for him leading into November?
I absolutely agree with that. Eric, across the Commonwealth yesterday in Democratic strongholds, precincts were reporting low turnout. That's not good news, especially since this was such a crowded primary. And McAuliffe also has to look at history. This is interesting. Since 1970 in Virginia, the year after a Democrat has taken the White House, Republicans have always won the governor's mansion, except the last time McAuliffe was governor. So he's going to be trying to pull that off again. Enthusiasm is also going to hurt him because this is an off-year election. So you don't have the pull of a presidential race to get voters to the polls. Also, McAuliffe is a bit of a has-been. And I'm kind of surprised. I mean, to me, it was not a foregone conclusion that he was going to win this. He is a wonderful politician. He is a great fundraiser. But you also had two black female candidates who very well qualified, who voters really didn't give a second look to. So this is Democrats' man. I'm not sure he's going to gin up the type of enthusiasm that Youngkin is. And I can tell you anecdotally, as a Virginian, Republicans tell me they are very excited to have Youngkin at the top of their ticket. They feel like the wind is at their back at this point in the race.
David, what do you think? What are you watching for in this gubernatorial race?
I'm going right to the suburbs of Washington, D.C. That's where it's going to be decided. Most of these races, or if not every single race in Virginia, is pretty much decided in the suburbs of D.C. and the exurbs as well, the Prince William County, the Loudoun County. And how well does Glenn Youngkin do there? And what's going to help him is the issues of critical race theory, as well as we know about the transgender issue in terms of transgender males in female sports. And there's a lot of suburban type issues, especially in school districts across the country. That's what I'm going to be looking for. It'll be interesting to watch. Look, McAuliffe, when he last won, back in 2013, 2014, he beat Ken Cuccinelli only by 3 points or so, maybe a little under 4 points. It was a close race. Ralph Northam won by about 9 points or so. So, look, McAuliffe is used to a close race. Glenn Youngkin's a better candidate, I think, than Ken Cuccinelli, and he's got a bit of the wind at his back in terms of the culture issues that are out there. So we'll see how this plays out.
And if enthusiasm proves to be a problem, that could be troublesome for McAuliffe. A lot of politicos are keeping a close eye on this race. What could this off-year election mean for what we can expect during next year's midterms? Jennifer, first to you.
Yeah, well, I want to continue with what David said, because I think so many of these congressional races, especially in the midterms, are going to be decided on the margins. And where are the margins? They're in the suburbs. And so that's exactly where politicos are going to be looking as this race continues. What do moms think? What do suburban families think about the culture issues? Also, news breaking yesterday in Virginia, homicides hitting the highest level in 2 decades. That's a big deal in the suburbs, especially on the tail end. Virginia is one-party rule right now. The legislature, Democratic, all 3 statewide offices held by Democrats. And they have just come off of all of these tough on police measures. They're having a controversy with their parole board where they just let hardened murderers out for no apparent reason without notifying victims. It's a major scandal in Virginia. How are those issues playing in the suburbs is going to be a huge indicator as to how these congressional candidates run their races.
Yeah. The margins certainly important. David, Glenn Youngkin, he's been endorsed by former President Trump. Just about 30 seconds left here, but do you think that helps or hurts him?
Well, we're about to find out. I mean, I think this is a good template to watch. Can Glenn Youngkin pull it off, be endorsed by Trump, but not go full into Trump orbit, if you will? And I think that is an answer to your earlier question about 2021 in terms of the midterm elections, whether or not we can glean any lessons from that. The lesson I'm going to be watching for is how well Glenn Youngkin is able to kind of tap dance around the Trump endorsement and embrace Trump while at the same time stiff-arming him in certain areas.
Yeah. We'll see. Trump did not perform well in the suburbs, and Youngkin has to do well there. So to be determined. David Brody, Jennifer Wishon, thank you so much.
You bet.
Tonight, President Biden is in the UK preparing for a slew of high-profile meetings with world leaders where he will shore up alliances and address a major adversary. He and the First Lady left the White House this morning. While away, Biden will join other leaders as part of the first in-person G7 summit since the start of the pandemic. He will also take part in a NATO summit in Belgium before meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Switzerland. As he left today, he said this trip serves to send a message to Russia and China.
Strengthening the alliance, make it clear to Putin and to China that Europe and the United States are tight, and the G7 is going to move.
Biden plans to confront Putin about U.S. cyber attacks, election interference, and human rights violations. This is the first trip the president has taken abroad since going into office. Well, meanwhile, during his trip, the president's push to rebalance the country's courts is underway. In the wake of a historic number of judicial nominations during President Trump's tenure, Senate Democrats voted to confirm what Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling the first of many district court judges. Today, 2 judicial nominees were confirmed with modest support from Republicans, a drop in the bucket compared to President Trump's 230 federal judges, including 3 Supreme Court judges.
And with that, we want to bring in Carrie Severino, president of the Judicial Crisis Network. Carrie, it's always good to see you. Thank you for being here. So one of Mitch McConnell's biggest legacies as majority leader was his handling of judicial confirmations. The Senate, was confirming judges well into December of 2020, even after President Trump lost the election. Can Majority Leader Chuck Schumer catch up in these next 4 years?
Well, one of the things that President Trump had going for him was a historically high number of vacancies when he came into office. Biden didn't have quite as many, but also I think Trump had a level of commitment to that and a real mandate for his judicial strategy. We know that he was elected in 2016 largely because people's concern about the direction the courts were going and the potential for Democrats to replace Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. So he had a real mandate and a much stronger support in Senate than the bare majority Biden has. So far, what we've seen is Biden has not moved quite as quickly to make nominations as Trump has. And obviously, there's a razor-thin margin for that. So I think it remains to be seen whether he can have that same kind of impact that Trump has. I think also we've seen that a lot of his nominees, have been people who, like the nominees today, didn't have a very clear background on the record on issues in our kind of unknown, maybe because he's trying to check a lot of different boxes here. He said he's going to appoint a certain number of public defenders, et cetera. And so for that reason, it's not clear whether his nominees are going to have the same kind of impact on the courts that Trump's really outstanding nominees did, because he really was swinging for the fences in terms of finding nominees that were top quality.
Well, Carrie, here's the deal. Many of President Trump's judicial nominees were young, including the 3 newest justices on the Supreme Court who will hold lifetime appointments. How long will President Trump's impact on the court system actually last?
Trump's impact is going to be generational because these seats are all life-tenured seats. And we're talking about nominees who, yes, were in the prime of their careers and still have a lot of years ahead of them, but also are people who were chosen specifically because they are bold, because they're willing to stand up for their commitment to the Constitution and the rule of law. And so these also aren't going to be shrinking violets who are just going to kind of go along to get along. They know and understand the principles of the Constitution, and they're going to be unashamed in standing up for them.
All right, Carrie Severino of the Judicial Crisis Network. We appreciate you coming on with us this evening. We know you're busy and have a lot of people who want to talk to you because of your expertise in this field. So thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Well, the future of warfare, why cyber hacks are on the rise, and what it means for America's national security.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back. In the wake of the Colonial Pipeline attack, there is a big public push to figure out how to defend against hackers. Today, the House Homeland Security Committee heard firsthand the tactics of these so-called cyber terrorists.
The majority of today's intrusions by financially motivated threat actors involve multifaceted extortion. Threat actors will apply immense pressure to coerce victims to pay substantial extortion demands, often in the 7 to 8 figure range. Some threat actors will convince news and media organizations to write embarrassing stories about the victims. They may call or harass employees, and they may also conduct denial of service attacks against those organizations.
And Elizabeth Newman is a counterterrorism expert and the former Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary for the Threat Prevention and Security Policy. And she joins us now for more. Elizabeth, welcome. It's great to have you with us. So let's talk about the threat of cyber attacks and the risk that they pose to our national security. Is there some kind of parallel you can draw to really illustrate that or drive that home?
Well, we're seeing a pretty significant increase in attacks. Last year, it was over a 300% increase of ransomware attacks alone. Now, ransomware traditionally has been seen as a criminal activity, and it is still perpetrated by criminal enterprises, people looking to make money. But what we've noticed in the last year with the targeting of hospitals during the middle of COVID and then our energy supply, our food supply, is that they are quite able to disrupt our way of life. And that brings with it concerns that you're going to impact not only our economic security, but also potentially our national security, because certainly our military and national security apparatus are reliant on energy and fuel just like the rest of Americans are. So it is this growing concern, and you've seen the government respond accordingly.
You know, when it comes to ransomware, should the United States consider itself under attack?
Absolutely. We've been under attack. And I think the thing that the recent attacks are allowing security experts to get the message out. I mean, it's been like 2 decades that this has been warned that there will be a day when the lights will go out, and it won't be because of a storm. It won't be because you forgot to pay your energy bill. It's because somebody somewhere across the world decided with a keystroke to be able to turn off the lights. And that capability, we've known it was in our future. And I would say for about the last 7 to 8 years, we have seen it be able to be demonstrated. It's just a matter of time before it happens here. So we need to take seriously this threat.
How do we fight against cyber attacks?
That's a great question. So the defense is certainly a key piece of this, making sure that we are doing what we need to do to have our systems secured, being a good computer user, meaning you have that 2-factor authentication where you're not only using a password but some other means to also validate that you are who you say you are, making sure that your systems are backed up. You know, we call that cyber hygiene. Having good cyber hygiene goes a long way, but we need to do more than that. We need to make sure we have backups to our systems so that if a system is attacked, we can move to manual processes and not disrupt whatever service that company was providing. And then more than that, we need to create pressure on either the nation states or the criminal actors that are conducting these attacks and make it more costly for them. The challenge with the cyber attack is it's actually relatively low cost to launch and extremely difficult to secure against. So it's high cost to protect. So we need to increase the cost on the attacker. And there are a number of cyber companies, experts in this field that are doing a great job. It's just a matter of now we need to make sure that the entire ecosystem, not just, for example, the banks, are secure, and that's going to take a whole of society effort. And I would say the last piece in increasing that cost is more offensive cyber measures, which I know the federal government has talked about doing. You've heard President Biden kind of allude to the desire to make sure that the criminal attackers as well as nation state attackers know that if you're going to mess with us, we have the ability to mess with you.
Elizabeth Newman, thank you so much for your time. Great to get your insights.
When we come back, the FDA approves a new drug for the treatment of Alzheimer's, but does it work? Or is this too little too late? And what about the cost? The answers straight ahead on Faith Nation.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
A breakthrough in the treatment of Alzheimer's? Maybe not. The FDA has approved a new drug to fight the disease, but at what cost?
Yeah, the drug is expensive and even worse. Experts say there's no proof that it even works. A CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson explains.
Biogen's new Alzheimer's drug, Aduhelm, is a monthly intravenous infusion with an annual cost of $56,000 before insurance. Still, questions linger about its effectiveness. One study showed no effectiveness at all. The other showed a slight reduction in the rate of decline. While this limited evidence prompted an independent advisory committee to discourage approval, the FDA still gave the okay.
What's important about this is that there was, of course, some controversy and very complicated sets of data that many people had different opinions about. But importantly, the FDA actually approved this today under accelerated approval.
Alzheimer's expert Dr. David Perlmutter is concerned about significant brain bleeding and swelling detected in trial participants, and the fact that Aduhelm is for people with mild symptoms.
It's actually designed to be used in people who have what's called MCI, or mild cognitive impairment, which, to be fair, is a harbinger for future Alzheimer's. But this should not be construed as a treatment for Alzheimer's disease.
The drug claims to remove amyloid plaque in the brain, but Alzheimer's researcher Dr. Dale Bredesen says that substance is simply a barrier protecting the brain from attacks.
The big problem here is that people have equated amyloid with Alzheimer's. These are two quite different things. The amyloid is a response to the what's inducing the Alzheimer's, whereas Alzheimer's is the disease. And just getting rid of amyloid, that's not getting rid of Alzheimer's.
Bredesen says the best way to reverse the disease is by identifying and treating things attacking the brain, like metabolism, pathogens, and toxins. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Still ahead, technology is shaping the future and delivering pizzas. See one restaurant solution to the nationwide staffing shortage next.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to cbn.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Finally tonight, as the economy begins to bounce back and jobs are more readily available, some sectors are facing a new problem: finding workers to fill positions.
A Maryland pizza shop is turning to technology to help solve the problem. Meet Servy, the robot waiter.
Please take your food.
It's got 3 levels.
And Servy is a phototype device that delivers food straight to your table. The robot took a few weeks to memorize the pizza shop's floor plan and table numbers, and then it was put to work helping human servers during busy hours. Servy is a big hit with customers, and I can imagine she is.
Yeah. Well, there was a time when this type of technology seemed pie in the sky, but now it's helping to take a slice out of the competition.
Hey, that was clever. Well put, Eric. I can't top that.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Have a great evening.
Good night.